Okay, so we're reviewing for the quiz tomorrow. We're going to do sections 1.5 and 1.6. So that's what our quiz is on tomorrow. There's going to be 10 questions. All right, the questions are going to be very similar to what we're doing here. Now, there's a couple things that I didn't assign last night, but look at numbers. Look on that same page, page 51. Look at numbers about 8 through 17. Do you see that? You'll have about 2 or 3 problems on the quiz that are kind of like that. You've had those on your worksheet. Okay, we've talked about them. We've gone over those. We probably won't go over those today. But see numbers 8 through 17 on page 51. You'll see about 2 or 3 problems like that on the quiz tomorrow. All right, it'll say name a supplementary angle. It'll say name a linear pair. Just stuff like that. Name vertical angles. You know, certain vertical angles. And you have to know how to name those. You got to know what those angles are. So know what angles are if they're supplementary. What are they? What are angles that are supplementary? Angles that do what? Add up to 180. Right. If they add up to 180, they're supplementary. What's that? Yeah, I've said it like 3 times today. It's going to be a quiz tomorrow. Yes. Yes, that stuff right there. I mean, I said there'll be like 2 or 3 problems like that on the quiz tomorrow. All right. So let's take a look at number 21. Alright, so this line kind of looks like that. This one slants about like that. Alright. Let's put some values in here for these angles. They say that this angle right here is y. This one right here is 2x plus 25. 2x plus 25. That's this angle right there. And this angle down here is 3x minus 10. I gave you a big hint yesterday before you started working on that homework. I drew 2 lines like this, didn't I? Remember, it's on the board? Still might be on the board unless Mr. Smith erased it. Yeah, he did. But remember, I put the 2 lines and I said, what's true about these? If you've got 2 pair of vertical angles, don't you? All right, and which ones are the vertical angles in this situation? This one and what else? Yeah, name it. Like, it's the 3x minus 10, right? So this one and this one are vertical angles. They're opposite each other. Okay, they're completely opposite. So look, this angle right here and this angle right here. We've discussed this quite a bit before yesterday and today, but I'm going over it again. So these 2 angles are vertical angles. What do we know about vertical angles? They're the same. They're equal to each other. That's right. They're equal to each other. So if the angles themselves are equal to each other, what about the measures of the angles? What about this value and this value right here? If the 2 angles are the same, and this is the value for this angle, and this 3x minus 10 is the value for this angle, what do I do with those 2 numbers, or those 2 values? Set them equal to each other. That's right. Equal them, all right, if you want to say it that way. Set them equal to each other. So that's what we do. That's all the geometry that's involved. The geometry is just recognizing that these 2 angles are opposite to each other. They're called vertical angles, and you don't really even have to know in this problem that they're called vertical angles, but know the ones that are opposite each other. If I have 2 lines and that they form these 2 angles that are opposite each other, they must be equal to each other. So I'm going to set them equal. So it doesn't matter which one goes first. I'm going to put the bigger x first, a little easier. Equals 2x plus 25. So you set them equal to each other. That's all there is to it. That's all the geometry that's involved. So the geometry is not that hard, is it? It's just recognizing that they are equal to each other. And why are they equal? Because they're vertical angles. They're angles that are opposite each other. So if the angles that are opposite each other, like this, are given, I just set them equal, and now I can just solve for x. So let's do that. So subtract 2x from both sides. Now look what happens here. I move the x over to the left. Let's take this minus 10 and move that over. So I'm going to add a 10 here, and I'm going to add a 10 right here. So that cancels out as well. All right, just basic algebra. 3x minus x, 2x is x. And then this is 35. So x is equal to 35. So we're halfway there, right? Because it says solve for the variable. Solve for x and then solve for y. But let's go back and figure out how to find what y is equal to. So I know what x is. Does that mean this angle right here is 35 degrees? No, it doesn't. Right, you got to plug it in. Exactly right. Substitute it. That's what we call it. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to take that 35 and plug it in for that x right there. So let's figure out what this actual angle is really equal to. So 3 times 35. That's what, 105, I think? Is that right? 3 times 35. Yep, because 2 is 70 and another 35 is 105. And then minus 10. So this is 105 minus 10. So what's this angle right here? It's 95 degrees. So this angle right here is 95 degrees. Why did I even care about that angle? I thought I was trying to solve for y. What does that have to do with this y? Show what's left from what? From 180, that's right. Because what's true about these two angles? They're supplementary, aren't they? Because they form a what? Straight line, 180 degrees, right. So this angle, this 3x minus 10, and this y forms a straight line. Well, there's something else that forms a straight line too, right? The 2x plus 25. If you wanted, you could have done that way too. What should 2x plus 25 be equal to? It should be the same as this, right? So we said right at the beginning. So if this is 95, what should this be? It should be 95 as well. So let's see if it is. Just to plug the numbers in. 2 times 35 is 70. 70 plus 25 is 95. So sure enough, it does work, doesn't it? So these two angles are the same. But what am I trying to find? I'm trying to find y. Everybody see that? So how do I find y? If this is 95, I take 95 away from 180. That's right. Minus 95. And that's a 5. And that's a 7. And that's a what? 80? Is that right? 85? Yep. So y right there is just 85. So that's 85 degrees. So there's my two answers. There's x and there's y. All right, so what did you have to, what was the geometry involved? The geometry was just understanding that the vertical angles are equal to each other, right? So there you go. So why do we do that? Because we know the vertical angles are equal. So we set them equal. How did we get this 85? Well, I had to recognize another thing in geometry. What did I have to recognize? That these two angles added up to what? 180 degrees. All right, so if I recognize they add up to 180 degrees, I take 95 away from 180, and that's what's left over. Somebody said that earlier. That's what's left over. That's a good way to look at it. Okay, so it starts off with a straight line, which is 180. Take away this 95, and you got what's left over, which is 85. All right, that's not so bad, is it? I don't think it's so hard. Of course, I've been doing it for a while, but I think even for you guys that just are learning this stuff, I think it's kind of easy to relate the vertical angles to each other. So you set these two equal to each other. This angle and this angle add up to a straight line. So that's 180 degrees, right? So you just take the one angle that you know away from 180 and you got what's left over. Okay. Let's do another one like that. Let's do 24. 24 looks a little tougher, doesn't it? I think 23 looks, I think that's a little easier. Let's do 24. Because I can't do every single problem because I want to get some other things, but let's do 24. So it looks like you got a big old line this way. You got one that's maybe slanted a little like this. And you got a skinnier angle that's looking something like that. Alright, that looks pretty close, doesn't it? It's what the book has. So let's put some things in here. Alright, this angle right up here is 5x plus 4. Okay, that's that angle right there between these two lines. This one down below it is 3x minus 24. Right there. This little skinny angle right in here is 2y. Let's put a 2y right there. This big angle right here, they tell you exactly what it is. Okay, it's 114. Chris, not now, not now, not the time. I'm sitting here talking. All right, so here we go. So there's my x's, my y's, got some numbers in there, and I got to solve for x and I got to solve for y. So what do? We look for relationships. Okay, we look to see. What's the first thing we look for in the last problem? Look to see for vertical angles, right? Okay, let's see if we find any vertical angles. Do you see any vertical angles here? Yeah, I do. Because look at this line right here. Tell you what, let's make this blue. Let's make it yellow, and let's make this one yellow. Look at those two lines right there. Okay, do you see the angles that are formed? And I'll go back to blue. Look. I've got this angle, and I've got this angle. Those two angles are formed by those two yellow lines, aren't they? Everybody seeing that? Sometimes when you have extra lines in there, it makes it a little tougher to see. But that's why I highlighted it in yellow right here, so that you can see it. Yeah, I've got these two. I've got this one and this one as well, don't I? But I don't know what this angle is. They don't give me anything about it, so I don't really care about that one so much. What other vertical angles do I have? Well, I got this little skinny 2y and this little skinny one right here. They would be vertical angles, wouldn't they? But which ones am I really going to use, though? I'm going to use these two. All right. Now, they're vertical angles. We just finished talking about this. What's true about vertical angles? They're equal to each other. So guess what I'm going to do? Set them equal. So 5x plus what? 4 equals 114. All right. I set them equal to each other because they're vertical angles. Vertical angles are equal. So I look at these two. These two are vertical angles. So I set them equal to each other. And let's just do some math. So 5x. Subtract 4 from both sides. You can do that in your head. What's that? 110. Divide by 5, and that's 22. So there's half your answer right there. Okay, x is 22. That wasn't so bad, was it? So always look to see if you can find vertical angles. That makes it really easy. But now what we have to do is we got to solve for y. Well, I only have one thing that has a y, don't I? And that's this one right here. So what in the world am I going to do? Okay, we could do that. Let's find out what this angle is right here, because watch what I'm going to do here. Yeah, let's use a different color just so it stands out a little bit. Let's go red. So watch this. I'm going to take this whole big angle. See that red one right there? I got 3 angles that make up that whole big red angle, don't I? I've got this one, this 5x plus 4. I got this one, 3x minus 24, and I got this one, 2y. Do you agree? What do they form? Form a straight line, so how many degrees do they form? 180 degrees. So what can I do with all 3 of these things? Add them up. I can add them up and set them what? Equal to 180. Are you seeing that? It's kind of the same thing we did in the last problem, isn't it? We did the vertical angle thing, and then we added things up, set it equal to 180. It's basically the same thing. A little bit more confusing on this one, but it's the same idea. So it forms a straight line. If it forms a straight line, it forms 180 degrees. So all 3 of those angles add up to 180 degrees. Well, here's the cool thing about this, is I can actually find that angle right there, because now I know what x is. So I could actually find this angle. In fact, I don't even have to do any math to find this blue angle, because what did we say was true about these two? They're equal to each other. They're vertical angles. So without doing any math at all, what could I say this angle is? 114, right? If you wanted to, you could plug it in. Plug it in. 5 times 22 is what? 110. Plus 4 is 114, just like we said. All right? What about this angle right here? We got to find this angle. So let's find this one. So we got to plug it in now. So what are we plugging in? 3 times x. What do we say x is? It's 22, right? So 3 times 22 and then minus 24. So what's 3 times 22? 66 minus 24. What's that? 42. Is that right? So that's this angle right here. That's 42 degrees. And what are we trying to find? We're trying to find this one right here, this 2y. So let's add them up, right? Let's add them up, set them equal to 180, and see what we can do from there. So let's go 2y first. 2y plus what else? If you want to just add these up in your head, you could, but let's write them down anyway. 114 plus 42. Everybody see that? Those are our 3 angles. 2y is this one that we don't know. We know this one, 42. We know this one, 114. So you add all 3 of them together. But then you do what to them after you add them all up? What do they add up to be? 180, because they form a straight line. So they add up to be 180 degrees. And now we've done all the geometry. That was all the geometry. It's just understanding that those 3 angles added up to 180. That was the geometry. That was it. The geometry was actually kind of easy, wasn't it? It was just the thinking part. It's the actual thinking part of this problem. The doing part is the algebra. Right? So let's do this. So it's 2y plus, what's 114 plus 42? 156, is that right? I think I did that right. See what I did? Just added these 2 up right here. And then let's do this. Subtract a 156 from both sides. So 2y, what is it? 24? Okay. Divide by 2, and y is 12. And that's your answer. So x is 22, and y is 12. The algebra wasn't difficult, was it? It was setting it up, was really what you really had to think about, okay? And what did we do? We looked, the blue ones right here, these two blue ones. We set them equal to each other because they're vertical angles. Then we took these three angles right here, bang, 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 these three right here. They form a straight line. Everybody see that? They form that yellow line right there. So we add them up, set them equal to 180. Now how did I know what that angle was? Plugged it in. Well, yeah, it's vertical to this, right? So I just got 114, absolutely right. Or I could have just plugged in the x, right? Either way, and you're right, Anthony, the easiest way to do this is just to say, oh, it's vertical with this, so it's 114. How did I find that angle right there? Plug it in. Took the x and plugged it in. Figured out what it was. So I took this, plus this, add them up, set them equal to 180, and you're good to go. It really doesn't get any more difficult than that on these problems, I don't think. What do you think? That's not so bad, is it? 23? Alright, we can do another one. We got some time. So let's look at 23. Just like that. Looks like they're perpendicular, doesn't it? Can I just assume they are? No. I can't just assume they're perpendicular, okay? Unless there's a little what? Little right box, little square in there. Is there a little square in that picture? No. So I cannot assume that these are 90-degree angles, even though it looks like they are. Can't assume it. It could be. It could be like 89.9, right? You don't know. So you can't assume any of that stuff. You can only go by what they tell you. So let's go green. All right. What's this angle? 7x minus 248. Wow. Alright, so that's that angle right there. This angle right here is x plus 44. This one is 5y minus 17. And this one above here is 2y plus 50. Alright. Now remember what we did on the last two problems? We went right to vertical angles, didn't we? But what if you go to vertical angles here? Like this 7x minus 48. Which one is a vertical angle with that one? 5y minus 17. Do you think there's any use in setting those equal to each other? Because look what we're going to have. If I put this equal to this, I'm going to have one of them with an x and one of them with a y. I can't do that, can I? I got to have them both x's or both y's, correct? All right, so I can't set the vertical angles equal to each other. It's not really going to help me out. So what I'm going to do is look somewhere else. Look at where the x's are. Let's just mess with the x's right now. What is the relationship? I'm going to say this word over and over and over again all year long. Get it straight to what's the relationship. Now, Justin, you said perpendicular, but what did we say right at the beginning? No, there's nothing that's parallel there. Do we know that they're perpendicular? No, we have no idea that that's a right angle. Kind of looks like it, but we cannot assume that it's a right angle, so we can't say it's perpendicular. But look at this x angle, 7x minus 248, and look at this angle, x angle down here, this x plus 44. They're supplementary, absolutely. Okay, look what they do. They form a straight line, don't they? Do you see it? From here to here, they form a line. So that means they're supplementary. So what do we do if those two angles are supplementary? Add them up, set them equal to what? 180. Okay? How do you know it's straight? Because it's a line. You assume that if a line looks straight, that it's straight. We've talked about that when we first went over this stuff. If it looks like a straight line, you have to assume it's a straight line. Okay? You cannot assume this is a right angle, though, just because it looks like it. But on straight lines, okay, you can assume that it's a straight line. All right? So look, these two angles form that line right there, don't they? All right? So they're supplementary. So 7x minus 248. It doesn't equal x plus 44, does it? I don't know that they're equal, but they do add up. See that? There's the one angle, and there's the other angle. They add up to be 180 degrees. Make sense? And now we just do the work. That was the geometry. We're done with the geometry on that x problem right now. Now it's just a matter of doing the math. 7x plus 1x is 8x. Negative 248 plus 44, that would be, subtract them, that would be what? 204. Negative 204. I put minus 204. Did I do the math right on that? I think I did. Yep. 48 minus 44 is 4, right? And then that equals what? 180. Everybody with me? Okay. So what do we do now? Plus 204 plus 204. 8x equals 384, right? Somebody do that for me real quick. Who's got a calculator out? 384 divided by 8. 48? Is that what you said? Okay. So x is 48. So there you go. So you got half of it done. Look, that stuff right there, from there down to there, that wasn't that hard, was it? It's just regular basic algebra 1. Okay. And really, was the geometry that hard? What was the geometry? Just knowing to do what? Set it to 180. Right. Add them up and set it to 180. Okay, that was the geometry. That's all the geometry that you had to know for that. Now, what about the y? Yeah, do exactly the same thing. What haven't we used yet? This light orange. Okay. So look at these two right here. You see that? Look at those two. What do they do? Same exact thing, isn't it? So let's just do it again. Let's do it a little quicker this time. So 2y plus 50 equals, is that minus 17? Whoops, I said equals. It's not equal, is it? They don't equal each other. What do? They add up, and I almost made that mistake myself. They add up to be 180. So let's do that. 2y and 5y is 7y. 50 minus 17 is 33, right? Equals 180. Check my math. Subtract 33 from both sides, and that's 7y equals 147. Divide by 7. I can do this in my head, right? 7 goes into 7 once and into 14 twice, so what? 21. There it is. So there's your y. That's all there is to it. It's just 2 times where you had to add them up and set them equal to 180. Now, they don't give you a problem like this in here, but there could be one. This is a big hint for you, okay? It's not just, it could be. Alright? But I'm not going to do a whole entire problem for you, but I'll set it up for you. You could, possibly, maybe, who knows, have something like this. Alright? And I'll give you an angle right here, and I'll give you an angle right here. But I'm not going to give it to you as 1 and 2. I'll give you like 3x minus 4, and this is 5y plus 7, or something like that, right? It's going to be something like that. What would you do with these two angles? Are they supplementary? Are they vertical? What are they? They're complementary, which means they're what? In this case, they add up to what? Not 180, but 90. That's right. So look for that. I mean, it's just the same as a problem like this, isn't it? Except they don't add up to 180. They add up in this problem to what? To 90. So look for that. All right, that's a huge hint. Don't know what else to tell you, except just give you the problem. And you wouldn't want that, would you? No? I get no response from that? Okay. All right, let's look at number 26. Let's look at number 26. You're going to see one problem like this on the quiz, okay? Very, very close to this type of problem, all right? Let's look at it. It says, let's review real quick, though. When you see the phrase, the supplement of an angle, we've talked about this on several occasions. This is not the first time by any stretch. If you look at the phrase, the supplement of an angle, what do we write down when it's in a word problem? What do we write down algebraically? What is it, Justin? It's out of 180? On the right track, but not exactly. Tell me exactly what to write down when you see this phrase, the supplement of an angle. Not equals 180, no. Algebraically, if I was going to write down a little algebraic expression to this phrase right here. What is it? No. I want an algebraic expression. I want it written with a number and a letter. Say it. X. Yeah, exactly right. Okay, we've talked about this before. You guys are acting like I've never talked about this. The supplement of an angle. If you see that phrase in a word problem, okay, you need to write down 180 minus x. You don't remember that? Well, look it up. It's in your notes if you took notes. It's definitely on the YouTube video. Look it up, okay? So it's 180 minus x. Well, it's right in front of you, so write it down. And it should be in your notes because we've discussed this on probably at least 2 or 3 different occasions, okay? So 180 minus x, whenever you see that. Now let's look at number 26. Let's look at it. It says the measure of an angle's supplement. Now, is it written exactly like this? The supplement of an angle. Does it say exactly the supplement of an angle in that problem? No. But doesn't the first little phrase basically mean the same thing? Look at it. It says the measure of an angle's supplement. So what do I write down when it says the measure of an angle's supplement? 180 minus x. Let's keep reading. So it says the measure of an angle's supplement is, what do I write in algebra when it says is? Equals, right. So 180 minus x equals, right, the supplement of an angle, or the measure of an angle's supplement, is equal to, or is, 76 less than the angle. So what do I do when I take something, when I say something is less than? I subtract it from something, right? So watch what I do. I'm putting it on the end. It's 76 less than something, right? Less than what? It says less than the angle, right? Less than the angle. And what is the angle then? It's x, right? If the supplement of the angle is 180 minus x, the angle itself is just x. So let's read this again. What I'm doing is this. I'm translating, okay? I'm like a, what do you call those? Interpreters, you know? Like they, it's not the word I'm looking for. You speak another language and you're what do they call that? Translator, right. I'm translating from geometry, from words, from English into algebra. All right, that's what I'm doing. So look what it says. Here's the English. Let's pay attention. It says the measure of an angle supplement. So I write down 180 minus x. That's what that means. Is, what do I write for is? Equals 76 less than. What do I do with that? I stick that on the end, don't I? 76 less than what? The angle. What's the angle? It's just x. You see that? Each one of these phrases means something. So I took the first phrase, wrote it down. Is, wrote it down. 76 then, stuck it on the end, put minus 76. The angle itself, so I put the x right there. Hope you guys are paying attention. You're going to see one almost identical to this. So don't cry and complain to me because you can't do this problem tomorrow. You understand me? Okay? Because I got like 3 or 4 of you with heads down and not paying attention. And that's going to be your problem tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about it. So watch. Plus x here, plus x here. Cancels out. That's a 2x. What do I do with that minus 76? Add it. Put it over here. And let's see, that's a 6, that's a 15, that's a 2. 256. Divide by 2. Is that 128? 128. So x is 128. So the angle itself is 128. But I also have to find, it says, what are the measure of the angles? Okay? Actually, it says, what's the measure of the angle and its supplement? So this is the angle itself. How do I find its supplement? That's it. Subtract it from 180. You got it. All right, and that's what, 52? Is that right? Yeah. So there's my 2 angles right there. So one angle is 128 and the other is 52. They're supplements of each other. You're going to have one of these on the quiz. And on the test you have on this chapter, you might even have 2 of these on there. All right, so one will probably say supplement. The other will probably say what? Complement. Exactly right. Okay? This is how you do that problem right there. It's not so bad, is it? All right, let me just say a couple more things. I'm not going to really go over any more examples, but if you turn to 1-6, I do want you to know some things. Now, I've told you I'm kind of changing my mind just a little bit on this. Okay, not completely. Remember I said I'd give you all the formulas and stuff? The more I thought about it, there are some basic formulas that you should have memorized. Now, we're not doing prism and cone and pyramid and all that kind of stuff on this quiz, all right? I'm not going to make you memorize those, I promise, okay? I'll give you all those formulas. But there are some real basic formulas that every kid should have memorized, all right? So let's just go over those real quick. First of all are the area ones. Area of a rectangle. That's the easiest one. Yeah, so this one you should know, all right? So what is it? Area equals base times height. Or you could say length times width, but we kind of learned it base times height. Yeah, what's another one? Triangle. So these are ones that you should have memorized. I'm not going to give these to you. That's it. You got it. Base times height over 2, or 1/2 the base times the height. This should be memorized. You're going to need to know it tomorrow. You're going to have a problem on there where you're going to have to use this, and you're going to have to memorize these formulas. All right, these should be memorized already. What else is there? Circle. Okay, let's not right here. Of a circle. So the area of a circle, its area, so there's a squared in it. So what is it? Pi r squared. Remember, area always has squared in it. All right, area always has squared in it. So area is pi r squared. These should all be memorized. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, well, what if I asked you to find the perimeter of something? There's really no fancy formulas you have to know. So don't give it to me as a fancy formula. Give me 2 words. And what did I say they were? The distance, what? Around. Okay? Look it up in your notes. You'll see this in your notes somewhere, because the very first time I talk about perimeter, I always say distance around. So what does that mean? If I give you a figure and I give you all the sides, what do? Just add them all up. Exactly right. I promise you, you'll have one on the quiz tomorrow where I give you a figure, I show you all of the sides, and what do you have to do with it? Just add them all up. That's all you got to do. Okay? Now, on a circle, though, the perimeter of a circle has a special name. What do we call that? Circumference. Okay, so the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. Okay, r is the radius. Pi, use the pi button on your calculator for this. So these all need to be what? Memorized. Okay, and they should already be memorized. Okay, let's not pack up yet. Let's listen to me. That homework that we just finished going over. Okay, it's review for the quiz. So I'm not going to take it from you because I want you to hang on to it to review for the quiz. But I am going to collect it. I am going to collect it tomorrow. All right. So so that section 1.5 and 1.6 from the book is due tomorrow, which is, what is tomorrow? Wednesday, right? And then you have a quiz tomorrow. Don't forget that. It's all we've been talking about today. It's not due, but quiz on Wednesday as well. And that's tomorrow. All right? Okay, I don't know what else I can do for you. It's up to you now. There's 10 questions. It's going to be worth 20 points. All right, so it's like 4 homework assignments. So it is rather important, so make sure you study for it. Let's have a seat, please. We're not dismissing. Okay, you stay in your seat till the bell rings.